I went to college in upstate New York. I'm from the Bay Area, originally from San Francisco, but I went to a small college in Schenectady called Union College, and I studied English and theater arts there. And they didn't have a film division of any kind. And I'd always liked movies. I grew up on them. I would spend the summer with my father in San Diego, going to movies. He would fall asleep in them, but I would enjoy them. You know, E.T., Goonies, etc., etc. So I'd always liked film, but I didn't quite know anything about it other than I enjoyed it. And so my senior year of college, I decided I was going to make a short film. It seemed like the thing to do, but we didn't have a film division, a film course of any kind at Union. But I knew I was going to need cameras. I knew that part at least, and at the time we were going to shoot on video, but there were no video cameras. So my friend, I had a good friend named Mike Ferguson, who knew how to kind of game the system, as it were, at the school. So what we decided to do was essentially create a club, a fake club, in order to get funding from the school, in order for us to buy these cameras, in order for me to make a short film, which, you know, I'm not quite proud of it at this moment, but you know, as I would come to learn, making an independent film, which is what I was making, though I didn't know it, you kind of beg, borrow, and steal. That's how you do it, and you apologize later. You know, I guess it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is permission. So we made this fake club, which we dubbed the Visual Landscape Artists, not my name, and I had a bunch of friends, a bunch of fraternity brothers, and you needed 40 people on the list in order to get funding. And so I went around and got them all to sign up, and you know, as long as they didn't have to do anything, they'd sign their name, and we managed to get the money. It wasn't much. I think it was a couple $100, but it meant the world to us. And we ordered 2 cameras and a bunch of VHS tapes. And these are the kind of cameras that you would hold on your shoulder, where you had to actually put the tape in. I mean, this is what we're talking about. So we got a couple cameras, and I wrote a really bad script with a friend, and it was essentially a knockoff of Swingers, if anybody had seen that. We had just seen that and thought, well, this is great. Let's do this. And so we wrote our version of it, and we cast people from the school. It's a school, very small school. It's 2,000 students, and you know everybody, and everybody knows you. And so we held auditions, and people came in who'd never acted before, and auditioned in rollerblades, and in their workout clothes, and it was an experience. And so the entire film was, the entire film was cast with people from the school, just friends of mine, and we set about shooting it for, I think, three or 4 days at night in between classes, and there were times where actors wouldn't show up, and I think I had to play a role in a pinch because I was the only one who knew the lines, and just made it up as we went along. I didn't know enough to know. I didn't know anything about how to shoot a scene, how to cut a scene, how to keep sound quiet and clean. So. Boy, it was the blind leading the deaf and dumb, pretty much all the way through. And I was making this short film for my honors thesis. I found, I think, a small kind of loophole in the academic outline that allowed me to do an honors thesis as long as I had a professor or two who would sign off. And so I convinced my theater professor Bill Finley and my English professor Peter Heineck to sign off on this sort of madcap scheme. And I think they were more interested in seeing how I was going to pull it off than actually seeing the film. So this was all on the up and up, and we shot the short film, and I edited it in a public access building in Schenectady, New York. It was freezing. There was no heat, no air conditioning. It smelled of sort of wet drywall, and we edited tape to tape, which. Though you might not know anything about it, is probably the worst way to edit a film you can imagine. So finished shooting, and that afternoon spent the whole day cutting the film together. And typically when you make a film, you spend 3 months editing it, putting it together, making it just right, and then you show it to some friends, and they give you feedback, and then you make changes, and then you show it to some more friends, and they tell you they don't like it, and then you make some more changes, and then the audience gets wider and wider. But it's a process. It's it's about polishing and fixing and adjusting and listening to your audience. I didn't know any of that, so I edited it in 3 hours one day, and I was going to show it. I finished editing at 4 o'clock, and I was going to show it at the school at 6 that afternoon, so it was literally hot off the presses. I had not even watched it all the way through. That's how little I knew about what this was. And so we had an auditorium in the college center. It was probably just a small theater, probably, 300 seats, and I taped off 2 seats for my English professor and my theater professor, and they had to see it officially in order to give me my grade, and I think that's probably the only reason they came. We told a few people that we were going to show it, and everybody in the film was from the school, and so I opened the doors, and my professors were there, and they showed up and very politely sat down, and then a few more people came in, friends and people who are in the movie, and then a few more people came in, and then the middle section got filled up, and I was a little confused, and then the sides got filled up, and then more people were coming in, and then the aisles got filled up, and then the back got filled. Literally about 550 people of a 2,000 person student body showed up. A quarter of the student body showed up to see this film, and I'd never shown anything before to anybody at any time, for good reason. And I was panicked. I was flop sweating. I was shaking. I was like, this is a joke. Like, I'm not. I thought this was like an elaborate kind of, punked episode or something. Like, I didn't, a very cruel one for that, by the way. But, and I couldn't believe what was about to happen. We were about to show this film, and all of these people were in the audience, and I was so panicked that I walked out. It started, and I walked out. It's like, I can't be here. And I walked out into the atrium, and the film started playing, and I remember hearing people laughing. And unfortunately, it was a comedy, so so it wasn't terrible. And they were laughing more. Please don't get me wrong. The film was just terrible. Really, really bad. But the audience couldn't have been more kind, because most of them were in it, or knew people who were in it, And there were a few gross out jokes and a few blue lines here and there, and they laughed, and then there was a big peal of laughter, and then just a little bit later a roll of laughter, and my hands stopped shaking a little bit, and I went in and watched the remainder of the film with, I think, probably the best audience I've ever had for anything I've done, and they were clapping and laughing, and it ended, and they cheered, and at that point, I was hooked. This is the thing to do, It doesn't get much better than that, and I didn't know that then, but it really doesn't get better than that. So a long way around to saying that short film changed my life, and I think that's the power of what a short film can do, or what any film can do, really. And I think at least I hope that's what's in store for Earlaina if we don't screw it up, or maybe even if we do. So when Maura and Kristen of Scenarios USA sent me a package, they sent me a proposal about 2 years ago. Actually, they introduced me to Scenarios USA and what they do and why they do it, and I read the material, and I looked at some of the short films, which were fantastic, and I just felt like, well, this is an incredible endeavor. I wish someone had been doing this when I was in high school, and I said, well, I can't do it now. I was just about to shoot my second film, and I said, keep me in mind, and I'd love to pitch in next year if possible. And they definitely took me up on my offer, and I had the time, and I certainly had the inclination, and so I said yes, and then read the scripts that were submitted, and I was really impressed with the quality of writing from all the submissions. I wasn't expecting that. That was a surprise.